What's up, YouTube? It's me, Josh, from the Average Josh podcast, coming back at you again with another video. And today I'll be giving my prediction of the Teofimo Lopez versus Pedro Campa fight. First off, I'd just like to say shout out to my 7 subscribers. 3 more and we can make us a basketball team. Excited about this fight. Making the birria. So Teofimo Lopez will be taking on Pedro Campa tomorrow, August the 13th, Saturday, on ESPN. And I don't really have a big, bold prediction about that fight. My prediction is essentially that Teofimo Lopez, if he takes the fight seriously and he humbles himself a little bit compared to his last fight, he will indeed eventually get the knockout and most likely knock out Pedro Campa. Now, we all know Teofimo Lopez is one of the, I'll just call him Teo because I'm from Kentucky, I can't pronounce anything. We all know Teo is one of the most athletic fighters in 140 and was one of the most athletic fighters in 135. He has exceptional speed. He has exceptional power in both hands. He's sound fundamentally, defensively, as well as offensively. And he knows how to close the distance fast and really land a good punch, especially when he goes to the body, like you saw with when he fought Vasily Lomachenko. And he has a really good right hand and a pretty good left hook as well. I wouldn't say his jab is at an elite level, but he has an average jab, and he has average defense as well. Now, Pedro Campa, I don't really know much about him. I did look into a few of his fights. He does have 23 KOs. He's 34-1-1 with 1 defeat by KO. And from what I've seen from watching a few of his fights, research for the build-up of this fight, I saw that he seems to be very much a traditional Mexican fighter. He's fundamentally sound. He has power in both hands, as you can see with the 23 knockouts. He also has really good stamina as well. He seems to be that he's able to just carry his high punch output all throughout. I'd probably say that the thing that really concerns me about Pedro Campa is that he's not really exceptional in any one particular category, and that Teofimo Lopez is the more talented boxer. Now, when it comes to Pedro Campa, another thing that worries me is that sometimes you see him getting in these exchanges, and in these exchanges he typically likes to put his head forward and he likes to punch a lot whilst being completely squared with his opponent. This isn't a very good strategy when it comes to fighting someone like Teofimo Lopez, because Teofimo Lopez has very, very, very fast and strong hands, and if you're just coming at him throwing a whole lot of punches, even if they are relatively strong punches, because Pedro Campa can hit, you leave yourself open to get hit with a counter, like a straight right hand or an uppercut or a left hook. And as you see with Teofimo Lopez's explosive athleticism, that could spell a recipe for disaster for Pedro Campa. So that would be, I would say, the biggest flaw in Pedro Campa's game, is the fact that his biggest flaw seems to play into Teofimo Lopez's biggest strength. Now, with that being said, I don't think that Pedro Campa is just going to be a fighter there who's going to be sitting there to roll over. And I think that if Teofimo Lopez thinks that he's just going to roll over and take a defeat, or thinks he's going to get a one-punch knockout in the first round, then he's going to be sadly mistaken. You saw him try to do that with George Kambosos, and it didn't turn out well for him, because George Kambosos, although he's not the greatest fighter in the world, he is a professional fighter with professional experience who's willing to risk his safety in the ring for glory. And I think, and from everything that I've seen from Pedro Campa, he's exactly the same way. He seems like not the type of guy to just roll over. He seems not the type of guy to be tentative. He seems not the type of guy to just sit there and just allow himself to get beaten, especially when he has a big moment of fighting a big name fighter on a big platform like ESPN. And I would say that the biggest weakness to Teofimo Lopez's game would be if he just goes in there and he does not respect Pedro Campa as if he's not a professional fighter. When you go in there expecting to just have a big knockout and just roll over a professional fighter like they're nobody, you tend to either get hurt, possibly put yourself in a position to get upset, or you don't get that knockout at all. You saw it when Ryan Garcia was fighting Tego, and he was hunting for the knockout from the very beginning, using up all his energy, just throwing wide punches instead of being tight and waiting for the knockout like he did when he fought Javier Fortuna. He was setting up there just going at him as if this man isn't a professional fighter. And like I said, Tego isn't the greatest fighter in the world, but he has enough boxing skill, boxing experience, and he has enough common sense to be able to move away from a punch that he can see coming from a mile away. And if someone like Ryan Garcia with his quick, fast hands and athleticism can fall into that same type of thing when he tries to just come in and just hunt for the knockout without setting anything up, and Teofimo Lopez can be beaten by George Kambosos when he tries to just come in and just look for the knockout right off the bat without setting anything up, and he's susceptible to counters, then the same thing could happen to Pedro Campa. With Pedro Campa could easily catch Teofimo Lopez coming in being too aggressive, not respecting him as a professional fighter, and land a big shot on him and really change the whole outlook of the fight. And that does seem like it could possibly happen. But I'm hoping, and also I would say that from the press conference, it doesn't look like Teofimo Lopez is really taking Pedro Campa seriously. He seems like he's just there to get a knockout. He seems really happy. He seems really relaxed. He seems really eager to get back in the ring to prove that he's this great fighter that he says he is. And he almost seems like he's overlooking Pedro Campa. Now, we've seen people we've seen other fighters act similar to this as well, but it doesn't always mean that they're looking over their opponent. He acted the same way with Vasily Lomachenko, but then when he got in the ring with him, he very much showed him respect and very much had a game plan for him. And I believe, or what I'm hoping, because I really like Teofimo Lopez, is that he learned from the George Kambosos fight, and he's willing to humble himself, respect Pedro Campa as a fighter. Don't go in there just trying to get a one-punch, really quick knockout, highlight reel knockout. He sets up there, he establishes his jab, he establishes distance, he gives himself time to start timing Pedro Campa. He gives himself time to really figure Pedro Campa out and really feel Pedro Campa's power before being extremely aggressive and negligent. If he's willing to do that, then a knockout will come, and I do believe he will beat Pedro Campa. Now, on Pedro Campa's side, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. He doesn't necessarily even have to win this fight in order to really be respected more in the sport and really start making more money in the sport. If he's able to do similar to what Isaac Pitbull Cruz did to Gervonta Davis, where he gave him a competitive fight, he didn't get knocked out, and he was able to give him some trouble, even though it seemed like there was a portion in that fight where, sorry, my kids are back there, so they always make noise. But even though there was a portion in that fight where Gervonta Davis wasn't really throwing his left hand because he may have injured it, that really did boost the clout of Isaac Pitbull Cruz. And Pedro Campa can do the same things. He's able to go in there, be very competitive, be defensively sound, go in there for the win, really try to go at Teofimo Lopez, maybe get in his head, talk a little shit in Spanish, so that, I believe Teofimo Lopez can speak Spanish because he is a Hispanic fighter. But if he's able to do all those things and frustrate Teofimo Lopez and go to the scorecards, even if he's not necessarily close on the scorecards or it's a unanimous decision, if he puts up a good fight, people are going to start asking Teofimo Lopez about the fight. People who hate Teofimo Lopez because he has a lot of people, he's a very polarizing figure. There's a lot of people who really like him, a lot of people who really don't like him. They'll start making videos about how he's not all that, and you'll see Pedro Campa's name coming up more and more in boxing. And that would be really good so that he can make more money, so that he'll be able to feed his family, put some money in his pocket, and get bigger fights as well. So I see it as a win-win on both sides if Pedro Campa can make it competitive. But if it goes the way that I think it's gonna go, I eventually think that Teofimo Lopez will learn from his loss to George Kambosos. He'll go in there showing Pedro Campa some type of respect. He'll not look for the knockout. He will be aggressive, but eventually he'll calm it down. He'll realize his mistakes, and he won't look for the knockout as much. Let the knockout come to him, and I'm predicting a mid to late round stoppage. I give Pedro Campa the ability to survive 8 rounds. So my prediction is Teofimo Lopez by 8th round knockout. And that's all I have to say about that. I'm out.